We're going to dive even deeper into this. Let's welcome to the show trial attorney and legal analyst Misty Marris. Misty, good morning. Great to see you.
Oh, good morning, Anna. Great to see you, too.
So how is the prosecution, are they going to be tying Cassie's testimony into his federal charges that he's facing, the federal charges he's facing?
So this is what the prosecution did with Cassie's direct examination, and she is absolutely the prosecution's star witness. So first, what they did was they talked about the dichotomy of power between Combs and Cassie. It was extreme, that he controlled every aspect of her life. And the whole concept is, was this consent, which we know the defense is going to argue, or coercion when it comes to the participation in the freak-offs? Now, what the prosecution did was lay the groundwork and really show through graphic and horrific testimony the pattern of violence that Cassie experienced during her relationship. And they thread the needle with that to link that to that 2016 Intercontinental video. Now, from the prosecution's perspective and now Cassie's testimony, that was during a freak-off. She left the freak-off early. Prosecutors say, look at this video. This is what happens when she doesn't comply. And they want the jury to view anything and everything relating to those freak-offs through that prism. So basically what the prosecution did was use all of Cassie's testimony to show that critical element in the federal charges of coercion. Could she really consent when she's experiencing all of this horrific psychological, physical blackmail, all of this violence?
That's quite a damning video, one way or the other. The defense is going to be cross-examining Cassie this morning, as Alicia outlined for us. And Diddy's lawyers have indicated they would try and show violence from both Diddy and Ventura, that she was violent as well. We know that she's cried while she's on the stand. I can only imagine what this must be like to try to relive a lot of this. But how do you think the defense is going to proceed, given that Cassie's 8 months pregnant? Will that impact things at all?
Absolutely. So much so that the defense actually asked prior to her testimony for her to enter the courtroom before the jury was seated so that she didn't gain any additional sympathy from walking in 8 months pregnant. So Anna, the defense is going to have to be really careful because, as you said, they want to raise this issue of being mutually violent. And actually, before court today, there's going to be a chambers meeting between the defense and the prosecution about how far they can go on that issue, what the scope of cross will be. But in addition to that, that's one piece. And to me, I think that could really fall flat. Where the defense could get some traction, where I expect them to go, is to look back at contemporaneous communications and text messages between the two. Because remember, what the defense is going to say is this is not to look at how Cassie views this relationship in retrospect. It's what she communicated to Combs at the time, whether or not she indicated that there was consent. And there was some testimony that she participated in the freak-offs because she wanted one-on-one time with Combs. Now, again, this goes into this larger pattern of violence that the prosecutors established, but I expect the defense to capitalize on those text messages, which they foreshadowed in opening statements, as well as to say she was actually part of the coordination of the freak-offs by virtue of her own testimony,
right,
and really paint her as a willing participant in at least that component of the case.
So the willing participant, that's what I'm wondering. You know, if she's saying she would sometimes physically give the money to the escorts or call and do some of the coordination, I guess you can argue that both ways too, right? Maybe she felt like she had to do that, and so that's what will be argued?
Yeah, so the prosecution has made, basically, they've set the stage to say Diddy controlled every aspect. Yes, she might have been the individual who was seeking out these escorts on Craigslist, Anna, wow, that she was exchanging the money, that she was part of the planning along with others who will potentially be these co-conspirators as part of that criminal enterprise RICO charge, but that every single thing was at the behest of Diddy. He had to approve everything. He was the one in complete control, not only over the freak-offs, but over essentially every aspect of her life. And so that element of control is how the prosecution is going to seek to hone in on that. through force, fraud, or coercion. That's what the federal statute says. And the defense is going to try and undercut that. And Anna, this is why they've said there's a lot of text messages that defense says will tend to show that she acquiesced at least to those freak-offs. So today is going to be a huge day in court hearing how this cross-examination plays out and messages we've never seen publicly.
Yeah, buckle up. It's going to be another wild and long ride. Misty Marris, thank you so much.
Thank you.